Hello and welcome to more of this. We take a look now at this. Corporations' oppressive nature derives from their ownership structure. Main points. Absentee ownership. Shareholders are like absentee landowners. Indirect and blind ownership. The actual people investing their money often invest indirectly in shares via a middleman, such as a pension fund. So, they don't really know what they're investing in. Sometimes they're investing in arms or tobacco or oil without knowing that they're investing in these things or without awareness of how these industries behave. Competition of fund managers. People put their savings in a fund and they choose the fund that's got the best rate of return. They don't generally ask questions, they just pick the best numbers. This means they are generally blind to what their money is going into. But it also creates a great deal of competition between fund managers who are under pressure to make their fund perform as well as possible, i.e., to get the best return on investment for the people investing their savings. Their job security and bonus depends on this, so they have a big incentive to maximise returns. They do this by picking companies to invest in which are going to be the most profitable, and by pressuring those companies to increase their profits. This competition of fund managers puts pressure on the companies they invest in to maximise profits. If fund managers think a company is underperforming, they may complain to company directors or they may sell its shares. This creates a downward pressure on the share price and further upsets existing shareholders. All these things put pressure on managers, whose career depends on them keeping the company profitable. Senior managers also often own shares in the company, which gives them further motivation to be profitable. So the point is this: the public, disproportionately the rich members of the public, invest indirectly in shares through financial institutions which are under pressure to deliver high returns, and which pass this pressure on to the managers of the company. The fact that the actual people putting their savings in are often unaware of what companies are being invested in, or if they do, they don't pay attention to the day-to-day running of the company, so they don't see the unethical activities that go on, means that the people ultimately funding these companies only have the incentive to demand maximum profits, and don't have the incentive to make sure that the company is behaving ethically. Keywords here: absentee ownership, indirect ownership, blind ownership. Greed of executive managers, of course, also comes into it. They are paid partly in shares, so this gives them added incentives to maximise profits for their own material gain. Lack of regulatory oversight is also a problem. Because capitalist enterprises have the biggest resources and organisedness in society, no one else has managed to set up the structures to fully rein them in. I mean, there is government, of course, but government is largely controlled by and is largely representing corporate interests in the first place. They spend billions on lobbying government for lax regulations, because to do so is clearly a profitable investment for them. Civil society and local communities don't have the resources, time, or organisational skills to take on the corporations. Government is largely run for the benefit of the corporations rather than for ordinary people. Again, because business is the sector that has the resources and organisational abilities to lobby most effectively and to donate to the kind of parties they want to see in power. So all this leads to a lack of supervision that would hem in corporate greed. Share capital, whether mediated by investment funds or owned directly, although owned by the general public, is owned very disproportionately, overwhelmingly in fact by the rich in society, mostly the top 10% or above. This is a vastly uneven distribution of the ownership of capital. If business is owned disproportionately by the rich, then it will serve disproportionately the interests of the rich and will dump its economic externalities overwhelmingly on the rest of society. The legal structure of a corporation. Corporations are legally obliged to maximize profits for their shareholders. There is no choice here. Profits have to come first. Corporate personhood. A corporation is legally a person, but they have the rights of people without many of the responsibilities. There are ruthless people at the top, because that's the kind of person it usually takes to get to the top of such an organisation. Okay, so here I've covered what I believe are the main reasons to do with the ownership and legal structure and organisational structure of the corporation. Reasons why corporations behave oppressively and exploitatively. We'll stop there.